So first, can you just give me a quick intro of you?
Yeah. I've been in the health space for 25 years and started off as a nurse for the first, 20 years. It's still licensed, registered, but the past 15 years has been in the holistic space. And I got into here, like most, that you have your own journey. And so hitting rock bottom with my health required me to look outside because traditional way wasn't working and it was keeping me sick and stuck. And so I went on a journey and healed myself, and then is just really eye open to the world that we have around us and how much layer deep we are with health, and it's so much more than what meets the eye. So it's really led me on this path of just lifting the veil and seeing things through a whole new lens.
So what do you spend your days doing right now?
So I do group coaching and individualized coaching, and do, presentations, workshops, and all those fun things.
Tell me about your point A. When you meet somebody, they have a certain profile that they fit, that they're looking for something. Who is that person? What are they looking for?
They've tried everything and nothing works, and they want off their meds. They know that there's something more to be offered than what they've been doing.
We have gone in deep on conspiracies and stuff. Of course, I think the United States is pretty much on the same page that food reform is active and happening. Thankfully, right? Like people like us freaking pushing the envelope, make it happen. Damn it! Tell me about your point B. You get these people who have, they're on medications that are making them feel sick. They're eating foods that are making them feel sick. They are tight in the hips. They are probably a little bit overweight. Maybe they have hormone imbalances, right? Tell me about the point B that you get them to with your coaching.
So we do a whole refoundation reset. So I always tell my clients, we can't build a skyscraper on sand. We've got to go layer by layer. And so I break it down for them, working through the mindset, working through the community, working through the environment, working through, nutrition, functional movement, all the modalities, because at the end of the day, we want to evolve into a higher version of ourselves, and we can't miss one of the links out of the chain. We've got to put all the pieces of the part together to ultimately empower them. So I walk them through a completely comprehensive, transformative process.
Is there a program that you developed specifically for them? Does it borrow from anything that would sound familiar to us? Who taught you how to coach? Where did you learn how to do all this methodology? Or not at all? Did you literally
Great question. Well, started off in nursing, obviously. And then from then till now, I've accumulated over 20 different certifications. And so I have been trained and mentored by world-renowned functional medicine doctors, from, people like Dr. Dispenza, different people in the industry that I've just gravitated towards because I look for the evidence base. It's not just a thought, a theory. I want to know, what is the science behind it? What is we're evolving. And so I want to learn from all of those different modalities. So that's where, I've humbled myself to lean into greater wisdom to help me become understanding of the practice from all different angles.
Can you name drop a couple? So, you said Joe Dispenza, and I definitely want to talk about that. But can you just give us a few of the people that you've learned directly from, so we can go and check out all their work?
From the course of time, so one of my very first mentors into when I was learning to heal myself was Dr. Dudrick. He is no longer with us, but he was just an amazing individual. And so, of course, I was exposed to his work as a nurse because he invented TPN, which is total parental nutrition. So he's been a pioneer in nutrition, and so thought to have saved millions and millions of lives at this point. And so to really hear from him, to learn from him, to absorb his wisdom, that was my first eye-opening of how powerful nutrition is with the body, with healing. And it's something so powerful that we just overlook. And so that was one of the things that was missing in my life. And so that's why I was like, oh, I want to learn more. And then just diving deeper in any textbook I could get my hands on, anything that's coming out, I'm just in awe.
I'm curious, what'd you cut out? What was the main thing that did it? Can you attribute it to one because I think a lot of the times, and the reason I ask this question is a lot of the times we have this kind of seizure moment where we realize something critical is wrong. So we drop a bunch of stuff that we are conscious now of that we were before, but we go, obviously, like I'm eating too much sugar, right? I got to drop the snacks. I got to stop eating such fatty food. I probably got to drop the fast food, right? Like there's a list I think that a lot of people go through that then it's hard to attribute. It was one of those things. Did you figure out any one thing that was like, I had to cut hot Cheetos out of my life in order to survive? Anything like that?
Mine was pretty much everything. No,
Right?
I'm not kidding. Like, right, my first book is going to be released here the fall, and I share my story in the first chapter of the book because I want people to understand that I don't care where you are, you can change. You know, if you want to change for the better, you have the power within you to do that. And if I can change, anybody can change. And I was doing it all wrong my first like half of my life, and it was when I hit rock bottom with my lie health back in 2011, going into 2012. It was New Year's Eve. I'll never forget the moment. And it was at that time I was like, I canceled every plan. I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do anything. And I just vision going into another year feeling this lousy because I just felt so horrible. And it was at that time, of course, you have that pity party for yourself and you play the victim and you're like, why me? All this? Why am I my life like this? Why is this? And after I like had that moment and like just depleted of like no energy, no more tears, and really taking a long, hard look in the mirror, I'm like, you're a nurse. Like your body is made up of the foods that you eat, makes up your blood, your bones, your tissues, your cells, your organs, your muscle, everything. And something on my mind was like, you've gotten disconnected from that and it's not being taught and trained in modern era in medicine. But we were trained it through nursing school, but somehow it got lost. So my aha moment to me, to answer your question, was everything that I was eating. And when I say everything, I mean everything that I was eating was toxic for my body.
Did you go get a test? Did you go get like a genetic test to really break it down that way? Or was your diet just really bad and you were just like ding dongs and red 40 all day?
Yeah, I was living on coffee. I was living on diet soda. I was eating nothing but ultra processed foods, nothing even real, all fake foods, full of chemicals. And, because we've normalized that. I was at work. I worked in a busy hospital. What do patients bring in after you get great service? Oh, here's a cake. Here's cookies. Let's order out. Let's order more processed foods. Let's add to it. So it's a standard American way that we've normalized.
Yeah, I felt recently, I probably can't do caffeine. I think me and caffeine have to part ways. Just in general, even like green tea caffeine. I can feel it. I'm going to talk to a cardiologist just to verify it. I think there's something about that. So it sounds like you found a whole host of those things. And over the years, probably as well as you've gotten more mindful, you've tried things and then realized like, oh, bread actually makes me sick. Like, is this not sourdough bread? That's where you're at today. So I want to shift gears. There's so much insight that I think that you could give us about health specifically, but I do have to ask, what is your key to a long life, to a good life?
It's really, I know it sounds cliche, but it is truly coming from within. We have to step out of the victim role and just looking on outside sources. Oh, I'm looking for this person to fill my needs and make me happy. Oh, I need to go do this to make me happy. And when we look at like, what do we want, right? Honestly, what gets into us, like what makes us happy, getting an alignment with our purpose, getting an alignment with, positive, environment around us. There's just so much to that when we look at, the key to longevity of our health. Obviously, it's a multifaceted approach. It's not one isolated thing, but we know, like you look at the commonalities with blue zones, tight communities in all of them. Having a great positive environment, to be in, to thrive in, like-minded, because we know that, just obesity in general, like just going to use that as an example, there's a study done out of Harvard. You have 171% increased likeliness of becoming obese just by your environment. That's not even your genes. That's your environment. So if we want to be happy, longevity, then who are we surrounding ourselves with, right? It's got to be that positive, more environment, but also coming from within. And that is, taking the time for ourselves, controlling our emotions, being consciously aware of our thoughts, our patterns, our behaviors, and create. We get to create. We are truly the creators of our life. And so we get to create that, what we want. And so I think that's probably, I don't know if that answers your question or not. I feel like it's so multifaceted.
It for sure does. No, it's exactly what I was looking for. So I want to maybe go in a little different direction again, though, and I want to know about your the first hour of your day. I want to understand how you're waking up. I, I think there's some people that can wake up and operate and be good to go and are on and don't need to do any special routines. I am not that way. I've got that first 2 hours really like blocked out in the dog every single day, right? Like working out in the garage 30 minutes every day, journaling every day. For me, those are mine in the morning. And then I make a potion. And so I want to know your morning routine. I want to know if you're consuming anything lately that is like alchemical, right? Like it's off the alchemy shelf. We've got reishi, ashwagandha, cacao, shilajit potion that I put together every morning, and it makes me feel like $5 billion. I want to know about morning and any gruel that you are into.
Yeah, my morning routine is always meditation. So typically an hour plus is what I drop into, because I need to control my emotional state, and my mind, I know, is going to be the biggest driver of the rest of my day and how I respond, and being greater than the negative emotions that come up. So I take that time to invest in myself. So I feel very off if I don't get that opportunity to do that. So my morning is like, I have a little sacred space that I go to every day. I look forward to it. You know, that's my
and what do you do? What do you do? Transcendental meditation? Are you doing Wim Hof breathing? Are you breath scaling? Are you yoga? Break it down. What does it actually look like? You can even demonstrate it if it makes sense.
Yeah. So I incorporated a lot of what Dr. Dispenza is taught and trained, and so we incorporate a lot of breathing into first, and the meditation to pull the mind out of the body and to really center and get the heart and the brain in coherence. And so I do, one of the areas that I'm certified in is heart math monitoring. So I'm very in tune with heart coherence. So I think finding that very important to drop into heart coherence to get my mind right, to be able to settle my body down so I can be in control and just really drop in and allow that. So I start off with breath for, sometimes 10 minutes. It depends how long it takes until I feel like, okay, I feel like I can settle down and get into this in a deep level. So I start off with breath, and then I go into meditation. It depends. Sometimes I'm doing energy centers of my body because maybe I feel in a little bit out of balance and I need to focus on each energy center. Or maybe it's, a specific thing that I want to work on, or intention that I'm focused on. And then I end with breath as well. And so just really cleansing, purifying the body. So using a lot of like what most, like if you practice yoga, like people would resonate with like Kundalini breath work, that's on the same pathway. And so really cleansing and purifying the body and giving it energy.
We Ujjayi pranayama fans in our, and yeah, my wife is a yoga instructor. And so
love it.
That's our whole world. So this retreat that you went on, can you tell me a story from it? A highlight, something particularly out of the ordinary, maybe that you experienced because when I read Joe Dispenza, he represents everything that is still magical in the world.
Yeah.
From my perspective, right? He's just on this, like, there's this divine electro energy map throughout our whole world, right? That he's this kind of idea of reality and meditation. And so you guys obviously did a 5-hour meditation that started at 4 a.m. and ended at 9 a.m. Is there anything unique outside of that you guys did to do deep work? Are you even allowed to say? I don't know how much you're under NDA for that kind of stuff. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it was honestly just a whole new appreciation for his work. I've always admired him for his work in really stepping outside of his own comfort zone to pioneer this and really bring, blending quantum physics with energetics, with, the heart resonance, like to all these different modalities, and but to have like scientists out there and to show the data like to actually see like you're changing your genetic expression, you're changing your blood biomarkers, you're changing the environment. They were actually measuring the energy of the field, when we were there, and just to see how we all started to get into coherence with one another, and meaning we're on the same path and the energy is completely changing. It was unless you go, it's very hard to quantify the experience that I experienced. And there were so many things that happened that the normal person would not be able to wrap their head around. This is next level. And I thought, I humble myself. I've been in this industry for a very long time. I'm learning and growing and thriving, but to be in that environment under him, I was like, this is a whole nother dimension that I didn't even know existed.
What is some insight that you took from it? Something that you're going to change as a result of the retreat? Something actionable that you said, okay, this is something that I need to incorporate from here on out?
Yeah, I think for me, it's like I love the science. I'm a science guru. I love that stuff. I'm like, I know you can have conspiracy theories, you can have all this stuff, but I'm like, I want to know the science. What is it? Like, I want to know that this is real, because if it's real, then it's easier for me to implement and to do those things. So for me, I think it was really seeing, like really seeing and feeling it yourself. And so for me, in particular is, when you start to regulate your emotional state and you really start to get in coherence, it's much easier to overcome, and you see things through a different lens. For an example, like last night I had to run to the grocery store. Typically, if somebody cuts me off, I'm going to get really upset. I'm going to be like, like, what's wrong with you? You almost caused me an accident. But when you become greater than your environment, you don't allow that stuff to take your energy. Why would I? I'm not going to go to that level. I'm going to be greater than that, because I know the power of my energy and how that's going to help me with what I'm trying to accomplish. So I think, to answer your question, it's just really becoming extremely mindful of your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors, your actions, making the unconscious conscious.
That sounds like a muscle, though. That
It
sounds
is.
like my initial reaction is something that I would need to work on as a habit, as a character trait, right? Incorporating a character trait into yourself takes, I think, lots and lots of habits stacked together. And so in those moments where anger arises, because I am red type 1 protagonist personality, right? And so I brood, I'm type of energy. And there's a story on the podcast where I tell this really powerful tale about conquering the fear of that anger inside of me. And if I go to the retreat and then I'm driving and I'm doing my thing, it's still going to happen. What do you do to flex that muscle in that moment? Is it a mantra? Is it something that they you need to all of a sudden become aware of, like, the sweat on your hands, and just like, not like, how are you programming yourself to not have those knee-jerk reactions in anymore?
Well, the emotions are stored in the body. So the first thing that you want to identify is like, okay, so if you are tight and you're tense and you're gripping, and that's unconscious behavior. 95% of our behavior is unconscious. We're not even aware that we're doing it. We're so stuck in our own patterning, and we just always, we respond the same way, we act the same way, we behave the same way. It becomes our identity, right? So the first thing is just recognizing, making it consciously aware, like, oh, I'm really realizing, like, this is how I've been responding. Is this serving me? Is this something that I want to keep or get rid of? Right. And the more you start to become consciously aware of it, you'll be surprised how much you can start to let it go. Because when you make that unconscious conscious, you're now raising a new awareness that behavior I don't really like about me, and it's not serving me.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That sounds. I read Sedona Method recently. It was given to me by a friend. Have you read that book before?
I haven't. No.
I think that it will be a corner of a piece of something that will be very valuable to you. It's one of those that you could get in 15 minutes and get the summary of it. The type of book I'm talking about. But I want to talk again. I want to know you more, work together, collaborate together. But tell me, where can everyone find you?
Yeah. So I'm on social media. So Instagram, not on YouTube yet. I'll get there on the
Today,
horizon.
plug your plug, please, too.
Yeah. So I'll definitely share that as soon as it's released. It'll be out this fall. So I would love to share that with you when that is released. And then I'll be co-authoring 2 other books coming out.
We want what do they call it? Eternal. It's a YouTube video. It'll exist forever. So say the name of the book. Tell me.
So I haven't even finalized that. The book is done, but I'm meditating on the right title for the book. So I'm not going to tell you the title.
You can't give voice to it yet.
It's not. It hasn't morphed yet into what I wanted, like the summary of it. So yeah, I'll let you know. I've changed it like 3 times.
I get that completely. Yeah. I finally started a project that I've been putting off for a long time, and I was able to materialize it into something amazing. It is called Zion. So Zion is an effort at building a type 1 civilization officially. I want to get to it. I want to collaborate. The whole idea is to poll people, right? To understand people's ideal society, to get feedback into the system. And it's an AI that we've built that is just describing the steps that are necessary to get to us to a type 1 civilization. And have you heard of that before?
I have not. No. See, I learn something new every day. I love it.
Yeah. So the Kardashev model of energy utilization says that like an advanced civilization maximizes their energy consumption on their planet. They achieve homeostasis with their rock that they're living on. So Earth, capping volcanoes, wave technology, making sure that asteroids don't hit us. There's a series of things that need to happen in order for us to get to that level. And there's a lot of theories in there about it. And so I am building Zion, and I want as many people to help me build Zion as possible. The way that you can join the movement is you can join the ChatGPT Zion and feed it information and have it ask you stuff. It's pretty cool. I'll send you a link to it.
Yeah.
And then you can, of course, donate. And all of the proceeds are totally allocated to helping people achieve financial freedom. So that's the first phase of the model, is literally like, I want to financially free 1/4 of the population. So that's how you can help me. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I loved it. Great conversation with you.
This has been the Pulse Ox podcast. Please, if you found this episode valuable, give us a like on Spotify and share it with a friend.